Was I sad that I missed the Star Ferry? Yeah, I was sad. I was kind of like, I'm getting ditched. I flew halfway across the world so I could sit at home in this awful bed. I'll tell you, it was like a piece of plywood. And I'm missing them while they're out there having the time of their lives.
So I've got to tell you about our time going to the Peak in Hong Kong. It was nothing like I expected. So Chris, first of all, had the flu. It was awful. We woke up, he was like on his deathbed. We'd already purchased tickets to go on the Peak Tram. First went to the Star Ferry, which supposedly is world renowned to be super cool. It was really cool, especially because it cost about 30 cents. Who's excited to go on a boat? Grant, do you like going on a big boat? It's a ferry. What's a ferry?
Something that sprinkles things together.
It ferries people from one side to the other, which means it's a big boat where people get from one side to the other.
World famous Star Ferry. That's all you need to know. World famous.
World famous. And very, very cheap.
I've never heard it before I got here, but it is world famous.
This is world famous?
The kids enjoyed going across the harbor because we were staying, even though we were staying in Hong Kong, we were staying actually on the mainland of China. And the island of Hong Kong, you have to cross the bay. So we took the Star Ferry across, we got some lunch, and then we trucked it by foot for probably at least an hour to find this tram, the Peak Tram. So we get there, it's kind of late in the day, it's almost sunset, we round the corner, and all of a sudden there are like hundreds and hundreds of people in line. What is this?
This is a line.
No. For real? Oh my goodness. Anyway, we soon figure out there's two different lines. If you've purchased tickets, if you haven't purchased tickets. And I'm like, oh, I've got tickets. Our friends didn't have tickets. And that was obviously such a longer line. So I'm like, huh, way to be prepared. You know, I'm super happy that I'm prepared. We get in the line. Thanks, I love you too. And our friends are like, hey, there's just no way we're gonna make it to the top, but like at the same time as you. So we'll go ahead and go grab a taxi. So I'm in line, you know, we pass some time in line. We have a few good games of heads up. A whale, a dolphin.
You got it wrong, it was an inchworm.
No.
Do it again, you're so funny.
Alright.
No, watch, we can watch ourselves.
So then we waited more lines. Just to give you some reference, Chinese people are wonderful, but they're very pushy. As in, when you're in line, they're pushing on the back of you. They just push to get where they want. Welcome to the longest line that has ever lived. Not really.
It's the longest line in the universe.
It feels that way. So we get across the street, people are like pushing on my backpack, and I am just over it. Meanwhile, our friends are texting, they're like, we're at the top, it's so beautiful. It was such an easy ride. And I'm like, oh. So finally, after probably what is an hour and a half, we finally get to the point where they at least scan our tickets. Then we're funneled into like this cattle car experience. I've never been in anything like it. There was like a section and a section and a section, and people just rush in and then just stand there and wait. And now we're starting to see the tram come back and forth. And I'm like, okay, at least we can see the light at the end of this tunnel. This tram is gonna be amazing. There's all these people here. I mean, this is gonna be worth it. So we're funneling. Each time we go into the next section of the cattle car, we're almost getting trampled. People are smashing against the kids, and I'm like elbowing back, you know, pushing back with my backpack. Be really careful because they're gonna push the kids in. So pushing.
Get ready to leave now.
Finally, we get to the point where we get to stand in front of the tram, and it's just all open. The tracks are right there. People are lining up right on the edge. So I'm like, oh, we're getting on here. So I weave my way. We've got our spot right in the front, but we don't know exactly where the doors are for the tram. Other people obviously did. I didn't. All of a sudden, I see this Chinese tour guide like yelling at her troops. I mean, she's like a military officer. She's blah, 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 you know, like pointing and obviously telling them like, be ready when it gets here. And they're all just, you know, getting their adrenaline pumped up. Like, okay, this is gonna be really intense. Like, I am underprepared. So I'm rounding up the kids and getting all their hands, and I'm like, okay, kids, as soon as that tram door opens, you're just literally using all your force to get on that tram. So that's what we did, and we totally lost. It was really intense. We almost lost Lincoln. He literally was almost trampled on, where I'm just holding on for dear life. Lucy is just kicking and elbowing and, you know, anything to get through. Lincoln is screaming. Grant is just trying to be as close to me as he can. Finally, we get on. We got one bench because, of course, there's more people than there are benches.
I'm like shoving you guys.
That was like nothing I've ever experienced.
I like was using my head and I'm like, yes.
I know, I had to like, thinking, I don't have a camera, it's just a vector.
So we go up. It maybe lasted like 2 minutes. I don't know how long it actually was. Needless to say, hey, you're okay. Needless to say, it was not worth it. We get to the top. We've paid for the sky bar. I don't even know what it was. The sky roof top. We get up there after probably 12 escalators full of people. People pushing, only to find that the top is just as packed as anything else. And we have to wait and like 7 people deep to even see the view. So now we're like 3 hours in. I haven't even seen the view from the peak, and I'm just over it. Finally, I text our friends. We finally get a little bit of a view from the top. Woo, you know, and people are pushing behind us to try and get in. And I'm like, okay, where are our friends? Only to find out that they've had the most tranquil, wonderful experience waiting just off to the side of this building, taking beautiful pictures, playing around, socializing. And I'm just like, oh. They told me later, when they got in their taxi, the driver was like, all these stupid people waiting for this tram, it's such a waste. They don't know what they're doing. So learn from my mistake. Take the taxi up.
Well, here's
If
the
we
show.
can even tell, yeah. Kids are
Hold on,
jaded.
it's coming.
They're like light show in Hong Kong. That's old hat now.
So we sit there, we get our beautiful pictures, we decide to walk down, because you can hike up to the peak as well. We decide to walk down. This is a little much with 6 children in tow, the youngest being 5.
Where did we walk from?
From the top of the building, we were higher than the building, and now we have walked all the way down from a mountain.
That's right. We hiked down from Victoria Peak. This little guy's a rock star. Now we're looking for the longest escalator in the world here in Hong Kong.
But we make it, they're tired. All of a sudden I start seeing signs for the mid-level Century Escalator. And I'm like, oh, that was on my list. I want to go see that. Okay, so we've got to reroute. So we start rerouting through our phones to find this. It's supposedly the longest escalator in the world. I've been really excited to take the kids there. We have to reroute and get lost a couple of times, but we finally show up only to find that it's a walkway. It's like sections of walkway like an airport. And I was just disgusted. I was disgusted at this point. I'm like, really? Really? All this while I'm texting Chris. He's like, how is it? I'm so sad I'm not there. And I'm like, you're so lucky. You definitely got the better end of this deal because that kind of environment is not what Chris would want. And if we had the two littles, Harrison would have flipped a gasket. He would have just been screaming. We wouldn't have been able to do it anyway. Anyway, it was overall not the best night. We missed dinner altogether. We're so exhausted finally at like 10 p.m. We just grabbed some ice cream for dinner, went to bed. All right, what's our dinner tonight? Ice cream for dinner again.
And maybe some stuff when I get home.
Maybe some leftovers for Grant. He's worried. Such a busy day. We didn't have dinner again. It's a good day, but this is probably the highlight.
Did I think that after Leslie got back, I wanted to go see the Star Ferry and the Peak? No, not a chance. Sounds like my worst nightmare. Truly.
What are you talking about?
It's just that building.
No one knows there's musical notes. Look at the piano.
I thought all the buildings.
I thought so too. Well, I thought so too.
You gotta get the cameras out.
Right?
This is
Well, Leslie's all nice and prepared. This is nothing to be missed right now.